Greetings, this is Iron Lich W, and this week I elected to take Pirate Queen Skarre as my caster. Standard of some Skarre lists, I want to include as many Bane Knights as possible. However, I only own 2 units. Because I don't have a 3rd unit, I decided to throw in the Bane Riders and see what they can do. Hopefully with Skarre's feat, the Bane Riders can do a lot of damage. And this game will help me determine whether the Bane Riders are better suited for taking out large targets or other infantry models.
Alright, for my list, I have Grayle, a Wilder, a Stalker, a Pureblood, I have a Shadowhorn, I have a Gorax, I have a max unit of Bloodtrackers plus Nuala, then I have 2 units of Shifting Stones, 1 with UA, 2 Blackclads, the Lord of the Feast, and the Witch Doctor.
For deployment of the Skarre list, I decided to first start with one of the Bane Knights. I figure I'd probably have a Bane Knight go after each zone, so I set up the gold Bane Knight unit first, and then I put in the Satyxis Blood Witches in the middle. That way I can try and distribute the entropic force where I would need to, as I know my opponent has Zombify. Then I set up the gray Bane Knight unit on the left, and the Bane Riders I set up on the far right flank, see if I could use their speed to both influence how the game is going to go. And I set up all the solos, Necrosurgeon, Tartarus, Ragman, Skarlock in the middle of the field right behind the Blood Witches.
Alright, for my deployment, I kind of put the Pureblood up so I could go against his witches when they go incorporeal that turn. I kind of put the Stalker on the one side and the Shadowhorn with him. And I put Blackclads on either side, and I kind of put Grayle in the middle with the Wilder. Alright, for AD. Alright, so kind of thinking of where I should place things. I kind of placed the Bloodtrackers off to the side a little bit. Kind of to where they can go for either way, but also kind of majority on that side, so they can kind of hold that side with the Pureblood. I have both Lord of the Feast and unit of Shifting Stones backing him up to where they can teleport him, and he can throw his bird and wreak as much havoc as possible on the other side. The Lord of the Feast is basically a unit to himself.
For Cryx turn 1, I start off by allocating a point of focus to the Helldiver and then to the Deathripper. I first activate the Helldiver to run his full 10 inches. After the first turn, he will probably just burrow and try and slowly move his way towards the enemy Warcaster. Then I activate the Deathripper and have him run out just behind the Helldiver so he can run on turn 2 and then arc spells. From there, I proceed to activate the Blood Witches and have them run out in front of the rest of the army. My opponent has elected the gold Bane Knight unit as his prey target, so I try to keep them back at least early in the game. Once the Blood Witches have run, I go ahead and activate the Grey Bane Knights and have them run as well, followed by the Bane Riders running up the flank on the right side. Once the Bane Riders have moved, I activate the Gold Bane Knights and have them run into the remaining void area that's kind of between the Bane Riders and the Blood Witches, but not running them the full 10 inches. After that, the Necrosurgeon unit activates and runs, followed by the Skarlock moving up and casting Ritual Sacrifice on one of the Stitch Thralls. I rolled a 6 on the Ritual Sacrifice, so I will have a good chance of arcing Hellfire on the next round. Then I run Tartarus up behind the Grey Bane Knight unit, and then I run Ragman up as well. Then I finish the turn by activating Skarre and just having her advance.
Alright, so first turn. Alright, so for my turn, I'm kind of thinking about like what I should do best, especially for that one unit that turns incorporeal for a turn. Since I only have a few magical weapons. Yes, it is kind of nice because the Pureblood does give blessed weapons, but it's only to one model, and it after a while it adds up. The Lil of Feast just kind of runs, just kind of toes the zone and gets ready for the next turn. The Bloodtrackers ends up walking forward, just enough to stay out of the Bane Knight Cav charge. And also, it's very smart for the Cryx player for me to leave my prey, which is the second Bane Knight unit at the top of the screen, actually farther back. So that basically means my prey target is basically out of the game for the most part until I can clear everything else out. And once I do that, there won't be enough for the prey to really help me as much as it should. The Blackclad just ran at the very top of the screen. The Pureblood just kind of walked up and did nothing. Riled. The Witch Doctor gave the little ladies Zombify. If you don't know what that is, Zombify actually makes a model/unit undead and tough. So that's actually really nice against units that might flee. So makes them fearless and they won't run. Grayle walks up his incredible 7 inches. Puts Storm Rager on the Lord of the Feast. If you don't know what that is, it's +2 mat, +2 strength, and +2 armor. And also, you cannot be targeted by combined melee or range attacks. It's actually really nice on solos and or Grayle himself because it makes him like a super solo. Both the Feral and the Shadowhorn just kind of get up with everyone else. They just kind of run. The Wilder basically runs in the middle of everything else. And the Shifting Stones end up shifting to where next turn they can possibly teleport the Lord of the Feast into a very interesting position to kill some stuff. Both the Blackclad and the other Shifting Stones just kind of move up.
For Cryx turn 2, I first start by allocating opponent focus to Deathripper. Then as I'm looking at how my opponent moved up, I'm noticing that if I run the Deathripper, he's got a chance to arc Hellfire into the Lord of the Feast. And with Scar rolling a 6 for Ritual Sacrifice, I'll be able to throw 2 boosted Hellfires into the Lord of the Feast. So I activate the Helldiver first, and I have him move, and then he burrows. Then I'm able to activate the Helldiver and have him run up to about, I was aiming for about 4 inches away from Lord of the Feast, as I did not remember if he had stealth at the time. And then once the Deathripper runs, I activate the Blood Witch unit. They do take the order to charge and use a mini feat. So I charge the first one at the nearest Bloodtracker, she fails, and then the rest of the unit just runs, trying to tie up as many of the Bloodtrackers as I could. With their mini feat leaving them incorporeal for a turn, or for a round, I'm hoping to just do a good job at jamming as many Bloodtrackers as possible. Once the Blood Witches are done running, I then activate the Gold Bane Knights and have them run up to where they'll be within charge range on their next activation. Or at least, if he somehow manages to kill one of them, the Vengeance move will get a majority of the unit within charge range. Once the Gold Bane Knights are done, the Grey Bane Knight units activate and they take the charge order as well. I knew a majority of the unit would not be within charge range of anything, but I wanted to see if the one furthest guy up front would be able to charge a Blackclad, which he wasn't, he was just out. And so the rest of the unit ran. Then Tartarus activated after the Grey Bane Knight units, and he ran up, and a Ragman ran as well. Then I activated Scar and had her advance up to where I was going to start arcing Hellfire at Lord of the Feast. So I hit Lord of the Feast with the first Hellfire, rolled above average, then I boosted the damage and rolled a 5. And it was dice -5, so I did no damage to Lord of the Feast. So I was starting to sweat a little bit here. And then I go ahead and do it again. So I cast a second Hellfire, boost to hit, and once again, I hit him with way above average dice, and then I boost damage, and once again, I roll a 5. So at this point, I am nearly panicking because I have most of my army probably still too clustered, and Lord of the Feast is staring at my army, ready to take out probably like 6 models. So I decided it's probably best for me to pop my feet at this point, make sure I can keep as many models as possible. I don't normally like to pop my feet defensively, but I didn't see any other option. Then once Scar is done, the Necrosurgeon advances and heals Scar. Thankfully, the Necrosurgeon healed all the damage that Scar took from her feet. And then Skarlock activated, he moved forward, cast Ritual Sacrifice on another Thrall, and I rolled a 4. So Skarlock will get 4 additional focus points next turn. Then last but not least, I had the Bane Riders activate and they gave the charge order. My goal was to try and start taking out the Bloodtrackers where I could. So I thought I had good range on at least one of the Bane Riders, which turned out I didn't. So he failed his charge and the rest of the unit ran.
Alright, so this is an interesting turn 2 for Circle. Basically, he has just popped his feet, and also his Blood Witches also just went incorporeal, so I'm kind of boned as of right now. I'm kind of thinking to get the Lord of the Feast kind of somewhat back and close to his caster. So the Shifting Stones activate, and then they decide to actually teleport the Lord of the Feast. The Lord of the Feast still has Storm Rager. I still did upkeep it. So Lord of the Feast activates, and whenever he activates, he actually gets to swing against everyone in his front arc. So he gets to swing against all 3 models. And I almost forgot that his corpse tokens are only for living models. So FYI, only living. Then, once he's done, he actually has Virtuoso, and because he's no longer engaged, he can actually shoot his bird. I chose to shoot the Skarlock, just so he can kind of be back there and be a nuisance. And he also does still have Storm Rager, so that makes him a little bit harder to kill, and he's also packs a little bit more punch. Blackclad ends up walking forward, and he ends up just trying to spray 3 Banes, and he ends up whiffing something terrible. He can just not hit whatsoever, and he ends up hitting like one of them, and ends up doing nothing, so it was kind of wasted. Then Grayle ends up activating. He ends up casting Blessed on 2 of the Bloodtrackers. And if you don't know what Blessed is, basically Blessed, 1 gives me magical weapons, so I can actually swing at the Blood Witches. So that's really helpful. Then also any defense or arm buffs from spells I ignore. So that's also really nice for upkeep armies that buff themselves. Then also he does pop his feet this turn. So if you don't know what his feat is, basically every single time I kill a model in my control area, another model gets to move 3 inches. So it's actually really nice when you need that extra 3 inches for other models to get somewhere. Or if you want to just back it up a little bit more, it's all actually really nice. Then also everyone in my control area gains stealth. So it's really nice also against shooting armies. The Chicas just kind of shimmy up a little bit. And just try to stay like engaged with the Blood Witches, but also kind of pull back the ones that aren't engaged. So basically next turn, whoever survives can, hopefully do something. I am rolling really well against this Bane Knight Cav. Even with his feet and everything, I ended up killing him in 1 shot. I was actually really impressed. Other than that, they don't really do much this turn. But what can you expect? They're POW 9. Yeah, they are a Weapon Master, but they're still only POW 9. Then the few magical ones that I have end up start swinging. I ended up killing one of them. It's nice, but it's not the most amazing thing in the world. Then they also do have Quick Work. Quick Work allows them to make a ranged attack after their melee attack if they kill the model that turn. So this is me shooting. I don't actually kill anyone. And the Shadowhorn moved because of my feet, because she killed one of the chicks. Then the Blackclad decides to activate, slowly inching to make sure that I don't engage anyone. Then he decides to actually spray down the line as well. Trying to get as many Blood Witches as possible, and trying to just get them out of the way. Then also trying to trigger my feet to where I can, move other people and possibly get better avenues. Once he's done, I kind of think what exactly I want to do. Then I remember that the Pureblood has a magical POW 14 spray. So, really nice, really powerful. He sucks at shooting. He's Rat 5, so kind of sucks, but once you hit something, it actually kind of hurts. Especially with those chicks. I think I end up hitting like a few people, and I only kill like 1 or 2. Other than that, he doesn't really do much this turn. Let's see here. Shifting Stones just kind of shift, just trying to keep the triangle going, and also see if he can get another Rock Hammer in there to do something to someone. Possibly kill a Blood Hag, or, kill an extra Bane Knight, or what have you. Yes, it is kind of risky to put that up there, but oh well. And one of the things to always keep in mind is, yes, the Stonekeeper does get shifted with the Shifting Stones. So, just FYI, he does get shifted with the Shifting Stones when the Shifting Stones do shift. Just he can't move after they shift. So basically you forfeit your movement and he is able to shift 8 inches. And what kind of sucks is my Wilder ends up getting stuck in between the 2 heavies that I accidentally moved too close to each other. She's supposed to be a little bit farther up so I can force the Shadowhorn later on. But, oh well. Shadowhorn's kind of activating right now. He is trying to get somewhat up there to where he can cause some damage. But it's one of the things of getting up there and also being able to swing is one of the issues. So he's actually a little short to force. Sucks. So he ends up swinging twice on Tartarus. Ends up missing terribly, unfortunately. Then the Stalker ends up going. I am casting Lightning Strike on himself. And this is the master of all chokes. He was just not in the game today. I have no idea what was the problem. He had Lightning Strike. He had, he had Berserk going. To basically once he killed one, he can just chain off. He just couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. I don't know what it was. Just couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. And that's basically all he did, and it's not pretty next turn. The Gorax just kind of moves up, contesting his own, and Rile for 1.
For Cryx turn 3, I narrowly escaped my opponent's assassination attempt. He was just out of range with Satyr. He didn't have the distance to move between 2 models, so he got stuck just outside of his melee range. After I survey the landscape and see what pieces are where, I activate the Grey Bane Knight unit and have them do their vengeance moves. So I leave 1 Bane Knight onto the Blackclad that I charged earlier. Then I put 5 onto the Warpwolf Stalker, and the remaining ones are near the Satyr. I missed the Blackclad again. Well, I failed to charge last time, but I missed them this time. And then 3 of the 5 Bane Knights that are on the Warpwolf Stalker, they hit and they do a good amount of damage to them. And then I go with the Bane Knights that are attacking the Satyr. They hit and they do a decent amount of damage. He does take damage a lot quicker as he is in Tartarus's melee range, so he's got a -2 modifier to his armor. Once the Graven Bane Knights are done with their vengeance moves, I activate the Gold Bane Knights and have them move to do their 3-inch moves and swings as well. I didn't get as many Bane Knights onto the Satyr as I would have liked, but I know that I have another activation if they don't kill him. It's only the vengeance moves. So the Gold Bane Knights, they swing, and it just seems like I had strange dice rolls. You know, I'd roll really well, and then I wouldn't roll really well. So they did about average amount of damage to him. Then I have the Helldiver pop up within 3 inches of the burrow marker. So I didn't allocate anything out, as my Jax didn't need focus this particular turn. So I go ahead and I start by activating Ragman, have him move up to within 3 inches of the Warpwolf Stalker, then have him do Death Field, so that the Warpwolf Stalker has -2 to his armor. Then I activate P-Skarre and have her move up. She wasn't within melee range of Lord of the Feast, so she didn't suffer from a free strike. And then she casts Dark Guidance and then proceeds to swing on the goat. I led off with the Great Rack attack. That way I'd be able to knock the goat down. Or when I say goat, I mean Satyr. And Skarre kills him in 4 swings, I believe. But with Skarre not really advancing upfield, like she's not within 14 inches of the edge of the board, so I didn't give my opponent points through kill box. She's still close to Lord of the Feast. So while I think about what I'm going to do with Lord of the Feast, I activate the Deathripper, have him move up and attack a Druid Wilder, I believe, and he manages to kill her. Then I have the Helldiver just advance and burrow again. He's essentially going to be like a little dolphin swimming his way to the caster, not doing anything until he gets there. And then activate Tartarus. At this point, I know I gotta get Tartarus to kill the Lord of the Feast, but I just advance him to where he's just inside his reach range still, have him curse the Warpwolf Stalker, and then have him swing on Lord of the Feast. Unfortunately, Tartarus failed to kill Lord of the Feast. So I'm wondering if I'm going to have to eat a charge from Lord of the Feast. But when I'm reading the cards for the Necrosurgeon, I notice she's actually got a small weapon. So I check line of sight to see if she has Lord of the Feast within her front arc. She does. I move the Stitch Thaw further out of the way. And then I proceed, well, the unit takes the order to charge, the Stitch Thaw moves out of the way, and the Necrosurgeon charges Lord of the Feast. Surprisingly, she kills the Lord of the Feast. With the extra die to hit from Dark Guidance, she hit him, and because it was a charge, she did enough damage to kill him. Tartarus left him sitting on 2 or 3 boxes left. Once the Necrosurgeon is done, Skarlock activates and uses Ritual Sacrifice on the last remaining Stitch Draw, rolling a 5. So Skarlock will get 5 focus next turn, 5 additional focus. Then the Bane Knights actually activate, and they take the order of the charge. The Grey Bane Knights, I put a majority of them onto the Warpwolf Stalker, as I really want that thing out of the game, because Skar's feet saved the Bane Knights last turn if they're higher than normal armor. But if the Stalker is allowed to live, he will heal him, he will berserk, and then he will proceed to wipe out 6 Bane Knights. So from the charges of the Grey Bane Knight unit, I managed to kill a stone from each stone unit, getting rid of my opponent's ability to teleport, and the Bane Knights do enough damage to kill the Stalker. And the one Bane Knight that's on a Blackclad misses him, so that Blackclad survives yet again. Then it also removes the unit attachment to the one stone unit that had it, so getting rid of my opponent's magical abilities with, I believe, Rockhammer. Then once the Grey Bane Knight unit is done, I activate the Blood Witches and they give the order to charge. I didn't lose as many as I was expecting to, so I'm quite happy with it. And then I just want to put as many of them as possible on the Bloodtrackers, as I know the Bloodtrackers are getting ready to kill at least 5 of the Gold Bane Knights. So I charge them in, make sure they have gang. Unfortunately, my opponent's been casting Zombify, and not all the Bloodtrackers were within the Bloodhag's aura. And more so is they were now not living units, they're undead, so I didn't get all my magical abilities from the Bloodraiser on the Blood Witches. So I do kill some of the Bloodtrackers with them. Not enough to force a command check, but it didn't matter as they're undead. So then once the Blood Witches are done, I activate the Gold Bane Knights and they take the order to charge. So I send one Bane Knight from the Gold Bane Knights at the second Blackclad that's on the right flank. And then I send a couple other Bane Knights at one of the objectives. And then I just spread them out to make sure that he had a hard time killing all of them. So the Gold Bane Knights are on the objective, they auto-hit it, and it only took 2 of them to kill the objective. So it gives me 1 control point right there. And then the one Bane Knight that went after the Blackclad on the right flank, he managed to kill him. So I have 1 less Blackclad, and those things have a spray that has been destroying multiple Bane Knights in previous games. So then the Bane Riders, as I'm realizing that I had them in bad position because the one objective that was in the right zone was blocking a lot of what they can do, they take the order to charge / run. The one that does get the charge off again, he misses, and then the other 3 run to try and get into a better position.
Circle turn 3. So I'm kind of in a pickle right now. I'm kind of dwindling very fast on what I have left. Right now I have a Gorax, a Pureblood, a Fury. I have a couple of my Bloodtrackers and some shifting stones. Basically I ended up shifting my Pureblood kind of to where I can get a really good spray so I can possibly clear as much as possible. Because right now, with as many models as he has, I need to clear out as much as I can, the best I can. So basically I ended up just trying to kill as much as possible. I ended up hitting a few of them, actually quite a few of them, and I ended up killing them. Trying to basically just try to clear out the zone so possibly I can get some stuff in there and possibly score some points, hoping, because the objective is now gone. Then, was it the Blackclad tries to spray again. He ends up getting a whole bunch of Banes. He ends up hitting like all of them, I think, for except Ragman, of course. Ends up killing like 3 of them. Of course they get Vengeance afterwards. If you don't know what Vengeance is, they get a 3-inch move if you kill someone in the unit, and they get to make a melee attack. The Gorax goes up and he swings on the Bone Chicken. He ends up just, doing a couple points here and there. Nothing too serious. Then the chicks then activate. They get the charge order. They charge in. I'm hoping that I can clear out enough for the witches to make a difference because they have quick work. So basically once they charge in, swing, kill, then they get another throw with their weapon. So it could possibly clear out a lot of people as long as I roll decently, of course. So I am killing one of them, and I'm throwing another spear. And I end up killing one of the Bane Knights. And I am killing another one, and try to somewhat get rid of the Bane Knights so I don't have to worry about Vengeance anymore. At this point, it's more of a trying to kill as much as possible, so next turn he won't be able to assassinate me. And also remember, he does have his, what is it called? Helldiver. That's right next to Grayle. And Grayle has no choice but just to look it at the face and just kind of take it because it's underground right now. Shifting zones kind of pop up to try to protect my Pureblood to where next turn he can still be alive, basically. And Grayle ends up activating and charging. He's speed 7. He has 2 sword swings. And I also did put Storm Rager on himself. So he's +2 mat, +2 pow, +2 arm. And he is Weapon Master, so he's really good. He ends up killing the Jack and ends up sidestepping into the other guy. Then ends up killing him, then goes ahead and sprints back to where he's in a more defendable position, kind of farther away from the Helldiver than he was before, and that's my turn.
For Cryx turn 4, I noticed my opponent did a phenomenal job at taking out several Bane Knights, and it did force me to reconsider what I was going to try and pull off. I think given the way that the models are laying, my opponent only has 1 beast in the zone, so immediately I activate the Grey Bane Knights for the Vengeance moves and have them move towards Gorax, which is the only contesting model. One of the Bane Knights, unfortunately, was out of range, but 2 of them both hit Gorax and did a fair amount of damage on him. And the one Bane Knight that was swinging on the Blackclad on the left side missed again. And then I activated the gold Bane Knight unit and had them do their Vengeance moves. So they moved up their 3 inches and they swung and they took out another of the stone units, or a stone to the stone unit, and did a couple points of damage to another one. And then the Helldiver came up. He was next to Grayle, but knowing Grayle had a really high defense, I think I was telling myself that he's probably going to wait 1 more turn. So what I eventually did with my turn is I first started by activating Tartarus. I have Tartarus move up into the zone and curse the Blackclad that I've been missing for the last couple turns. And then he ends his activation, and then I move on to the Ragman, who moves up to within 3 inches of the Gorax and does Death Field to drop his defense by 2, or drop his armor by 2. After that, I activate P-Skarre. She moves up, so I would have her dominating the zone, and then she casts Dark Guidance. And I move on to the Helldiver, who I wanted to attack the caster or my opponent's Warlock, but I just had him burrow, so if he did pop up, he might get backstrike on the next turn, but I didn't have confidence in him hitting the caster. Then I started with the Grey Bane Knight unit. Right now the unit only has 4 knights left, and I had 2 of them charge Gorax. 1 was going to stay on the Blackclad, and then I would have the 4th charge the caster. Everyone was within Skar's Dark Guidance, and so I started with the Bane Knight that was on the Blackclad, who hit him and did kill him. So I got rid of the thorn in my side. And then the 2 Bane Knights that were on the Gorax, they both got the charge distance. They were able to kill the Gorax. And I believe I got ahead of myself as I forgot to swing on Grayle with the 4th Bane Knight. Then the Necrosurgeon activated, moved up to within the zone, and she didn't do anything else. And then I activated Skarlock, who did the ritual sacrifice on the Necrosurgeon, and I rolled a 3 for the amount of focus that I would get on the next turn. Then I activated the Bane Knights, the gold Bane Knight unit, and they took the order to charge. What I was trying to do is I was trying to get as many on the Pureblood Warpwolf to try and do as much damage as I could. I did manage to knock out an aspect. I forget which one it was. And then the gold Bane Knights further just attacked the stone and did some damage to it. And then I activated the Bane Riders, and they took the order to charge. However, I had one, the far Bane Rider, fail to do the impact attack correctly. Or he failed to hit with the impact attack, and I don't think I did it correctly, so I have to go brush up on the cavalry rules. And he failed the charge because of it, so I just moved the remaining ones. Charged him in. They didn't really get a whole lot of damage done, but the impact attacks from the other Bane Riders did manage to... Actually, no, they didn't hurt anything, they just kind of missed. But with the charge attack itself, I managed to kill a couple more of the Bloodtrackers. And that is the end of Cryx turn 4.
Circle turn 4. Alright, so slowly but surely my army is kind of falling apart. It's not looking too awesome for me. I think this turn I kind of end up screwing up. I am putting myself a little too far out there. But you'll see. So I'm kind of thinking about the Witch Doctor, and I'm actually about to use Dominate Undead. If you don't know what that is, it's a range 10 spell. Basically use it on any undead warrior model, non-warlock warrior model, and you can then make an advance and make a swing with it. So it's pretty nice when you're playing against Cryx, because 99% of their army is undead. I end up hitting one of the Bane Knight Cav, and then I decide to go ahead and try to kill Tartarus. I end up whiffing on the to hit roll, which kind of sucks. So I was actually really hoping to kill him. Anyways, the Bloodtrackers just kind of charge forward just to engage the other Bane Knight Cav. Try to do as much damage as possible while trying to keep myself alive. I ended up like wounding one of them. Nothing too serious. The Pureblood goes ghostly and kind of backs up. He ends up spraying again. Right now, he's being the MVP of this game. He's being a boss at killing stuff. So for some reason, this one, he wanted to miss Ragman, the one I was trying to kill. I think I'm hitting both units with it, so both of them get vengeance. It kind of sucks. Grayle goes ahead and activates. He still has Storm Rager. I still have kept it. He ends up killing one of the guys, sidesteps to the other one, kills him, and goes to the last guy. And if you don't know what sidestep is, for every initial attack, he gets to move 2 inches. So basically he gets to do it twice. Then he has sprint, so because he killed the model, he then gets to run away. Stones kind of shift to protect him, and that's it.
For Cryx turn 5, I was a bit surprised by my opponent's movements. I thought he would have moved more into the zone, but instead he elected to try and take out as many of my models as possible. So I used the Vengeance moves on the remaining Grey Bane Knight and the remaining Gold Bane Knight just to get them better angles to charge Grayle with. And then I had the Helldiver come up. Fortunately, Grayle's too far away for him to do anything. So then I just start with the Bane Riders. Essentially, what I do is they take the order to charge, and their whole goal was to try and kill the stones that were blocking the charge lanes. So there was one that my opponent that did Dominate Undead to try and swing on Tartarus. He ran aside, and then I had 2 that were in relatively good position, just charge after the stones. That way they're POW 15, 3 dice on charge with a stone, 5 life at arm 18. They would have a good chance at knocking out the stones. And then the one that was on the far side, he just ran. So on the 2 Bane Knights that charged the stones, or Bane Riders, excuse me, they did kill both stones. That way Tartarus has now a clear line of charge to Grayle. But before I activate anything else, I went ahead and activated Ragman, had him move his full distance and do Death Field. because I wanted to start with Skarre before Tartarus. So then I activate Skarre first, have her cast Dark Guidance, and then she charges Grayle. So I miss with my first 2 attacks, and of course I was leading off with the Great Rat because I want to knock Grayle down. And then I just bought additional attacks. I had received 3 additional focus from Dark Guidance, or not, from Ritual Sacrifice on the previous turn, so I had 5 focus once I used Dark Guidance. With a combination of buying attacks and cutting herself for additional damage die, Skarre was able to damage Grayle to the point where he got rid of all his transfers and Skarre killed Grayle. My opponent played a phenomenal game, and this seems like every time I play him it goes down to the wire, and it's just who makes the last mistake is generally what determines who wins. So luckily in this case I won.